now that we're on it, I want to show you guys, obviously, the original Overwatch cinematic. The original. This is probably going to get me choked up because I missed this game. This is with Jeff Kaplan at the helm. The man, the myth, the legend, the one who made Overwatch what it is today. Or what it was, excuse me.
Conflict. As the world teetered on the brink of anarchy, a new hope arose. An elite international task force charged with ending the war and restoring liberty to all nations. Overwatch. Soldiers, scientists, adventurers, oddities. Guardians who secured global peace for a generation. Under its steadfast protection, the world recovered. And today, though its watch has ended, its soaring ideals of freedom and equality will never be forgotten.
That was so cool! In that one battle, they had Soundquake. Remember, he has, like, chest missiles?
Soundquake. That never became a character.
Mine's Fusionator. No. Tracer. Yeah, Tracer. She's like, cheers, love. The cavalry's here.
Soundquake and Fusionator. Interesting. They never actually did anything with those character names. Or they were, like, prototype names and they turned into something else. Soundquake being Lucio and Fusionator... Zarya? Maybe? Because, you know, she creates black holes, essentially. Fusion, whatever.
Whoa. That's Doomfist's gauntlet.
This would...
Oh, man. They said he could level a skyscraper.
Now, this was Doomfist, okay? Doomfist, he came in much later. I believe he was... Yeah, he was in Overwatch 1, but he came in much later. This cinematic could rival any Pixar film. Seriously.
And remember, he was all fighting and Winston beat him and was like, Primal Punch!
That's only in the holovids. Everybody knows Overwatch got shut down. Half of them are just mercenaries now.
Whoops. There she is. Widowmaker.
Enjoying the exhibit? All right, playtime's over. Get to cover.
Come on, move it!
Reaper, my boy.
There you are.
What are you looking at?
Yeah, if only that was actually possible.
Die.
I forgot Hearthstone actually came out already. How did they fuck this up? By forcing out Jeff Kaplan and Mike Morhaime and Chris Metzen. Pretty much all the OG guys who kept this place together. They basically just replaced them with all of them with DEI hired pieces of shit that have absolutely no experience whatsoever, and they were hired based on their sex and gender, or sex and race rather than any kind of like potential, you know, work experience.
Yes.
By making changes at a corporate level. But imagine if in the game there was that possibility of like Winston being able to throw Tracer into like a group and having her like do a special ability or something. That would have been cool, man. Imagine if that was even a thing. just so funny. It's just wonderment. Just like, she said the line. Oh, it's so funny.
Come on, big guy. Get up. Oh no!
And then Widowmaker is just ridiculously sexy.
Stay here.
Oh, the suplex. Notice how they just don't ever hit each other.
Watch out!
Hey!
You know, the world could always use more heroes. Yeah! That was awesome!
I told you guys I'd get choked up, man. Yeah, they did. Got choked up right at the end there. Because I actually started tearing up, dude. I'm genuinely saddened by that. I miss playing that game. And it's, you know, it's weird when something like that, you think it's so stupid, you know? Somebody from the outside looking in and seeing me react the way I am to that trailer, probably think it's a little bit ridiculous for somebody to seeing somebody be so emotional to something so ridiculous as a video game. But in 2016, it was still a chaotic time for me, in and out of jobs, you know, trying to find, I think, yeah, I'm not sure if I was employed or not. I can't remember. But Overwatch 1 was a moment in my life where I genuinely found a game that meant something to me, that I found people that I genuinely like to play with. The community was fantastic. You know, you had some people who were toxic, so was I. But overall, the community was just one of the most welcoming communities on the planet. And everybody who played it genuinely loved the game for what it was. you know, aside from the loot boxes, which I still stand by the fact that they did it right the first time. I think Overwatch did loot boxes the best because you got a loot box every single time you leveled up, and it wasn't terribly difficult to level up, especially since the game itself was just so much fun. You just kept playing. So leveling wasn't a problem, and getting loot boxes wasn't a problem. You could always just, you know, you could just play the game and you could unlock things. But that wasn't the point. The point is that the community was so... They rallied around an idea, a game that brought us all together under the fact that, like, it was just a perfect game. It was a solid game, hero shooter. Everybody understood it. We understood what we were supposed to do. It was fun. It was addictive. And it was true to itself. I don't even know how else to put it. It was true to itself. It didn't try to push an agenda. It didn't try to tell you how to think or how to feel. It just existed, and you thought of it what you wanted. You know, you got attached to these characters, and through their stories, you understood them. And now it's like everybody's gay. Like, you know, and here's the thing. I've said this a million times, and I think in general, for the most part, the general public doesn't give a shit about whether you're gay or not. Nobody cares. But it turned into this nonsense where literally everybody we thought who had their, like, the only person or two characters that we knew that were that way were probably Zarya, which was very obvious, and Tracer. Those are the only two. And then they just tried to rewrite everybody to being anything but straight, or made that the focal point of the characters, which was wrong. Like, they shouldn't be, that should not be the focus. The game is the focus. The character development is the focus. And when you just strip all that away, and changing McCree's name because, oh, one guy spent a night in a hotel that Bill Cosby was in. Fucking get over yourselves, man. Nobody's perfect. Who gives a fuck what room he stayed in? I will never call him, what was the new name? Cassidy. I will never call him that, because you can't just change somebody's name. You can't just change a character's name like that after years of people calling him something else. It's fucking retarded. Blizzard ruined one of the greatest franchises they could have had under in their hands. They ruined it. There didn't need to be an Overwatch 2. Overwatch should have just been Overwatch. And all they had to do was update it. They wanted it to be a live service game. You could have just updated Overwatch 1 instead of stealing my money. They've ruined everything. It's not just WoW and Overwatch. They've ruined WoW, Overwatch, Diablo, StarCraft. They've ruined every single franchise they've ever had. Hearthstone, luckily, is still a good game, I think. I haven't played it in a while, but, like, they did add loot boxes into it. They probably added battle passes. But the fundamental foundation of the game, I think, is still intact. Hearthstone, I think, is also the same. It just depends on, like, the decks that they bring out, the cards that they bring out, if they're too, you know, if they're too overpowered and stuff like that. It's just the general, the normal, like, power creep and stuff like that. But overall, I think Hearthstone is still the same. Heroes of the Storm is still the same. But these aren't franchises that we're going to see sequels. World of Warcraft has been going on for over 20 years. StarCraft has been going on, well, was going on for 20 years at that point, I think, when they decided to abandon it. But they really had something with Overwatch, and they fucked it. They fucked it up. And I think that's why I got emotional seeing that cinematic, mostly because it was, again, it was a time in my life that I needed something It allowed me to escape the hardships of my life at that time. And that's what video games are for us. Video games are an escape, like movies, like books, like music. They are an escape into a world where we don't have to worry about the reality of our lives. I don't want to play a video game where I'm told how to think or feel. I don't want to play a video game that reminds me of what's going on in real life. When I was down in 2016, when I was down and beaten, couldn't find a job, couldn't hold a job because the world was beating the shit out of me, I had Overwatch to keep me company. I'll be right back. Sorry. I had to compose myself for a second there. What these companies fail to realize is that these video games, they're not just toys. They, to a lot of us, mean something significant. For a lot of people, World of Warcraft was a means of finding their significant other. A lot of people met on World of Warcraft and got married because of it in real life. Their games brought the community together every year at BlizzCon because the characters people loved so dearly, they got to see them in real life being portrayed by people who were so passionate about the franchises that they loved that they would dress up as the characters that they absolutely adored. You know, and like I said, for me, Overwatch was a game that was necessary for me in my life during that time because it was a tumultuous time for me. And it was 2 short years before that, before Overwatch was even a thing. I found out that I had been swindled out of $120,000 thanks to ITT Tech. You know, up until that point, I had wondered how it is that I had accumulated such a massive amount of debt just going to school for 3 years. And as it turns out, that's when I found out in 2014 that they had actually swindled people out of their money, me included. And then 2 years later, I'm still without a permanent position. And along comes Overwatch to allow me to escape from that reality, even if for a little while, with characters that I enjoyed and with people that I enjoyed playing those characters with. And then to see Overwatch taken from me, as I'm sure many people felt, taken from me and turned into whatever it is these days, was not only insulting, but probably at the worst heartbreaking. Because they turned it into something that wasn't Overwatch anymore. It wasn't what we grew up with. It wasn't what we understood to be Overwatch. It became this thing that was just there to make them money. And that didn't even work. And and it's not like people like myself and people who just take these franchises seriously. It's not like we're dumb. We understand it's a business. We know that they have to make money. It doesn't escape our minds that that's what these guys exist for. But at least even when Overwatch came out in 2016, at least then the developers still cared about making a good game. Like, they still put their heart and soul into making a game that people wanted to play. Not feel like they had to play. That's what Overwatch 2 became. Was a game that we feel like we had to play because, oh, got to get that next battle pass done. Got to get those challenges done. And they even shortchanged that shit too. Overwatch 1 was fine the way it was. Like, yeah, not everybody liked the loot box system, but at least it worked. Overwatch 2 comes out, they put a battle pass in the game. You can't even finish the battle pass in a reasonable amount of time. You have to spend the rest of your life on the game just to finish one battle pass. And then the characters become more and more androgynous and unlikable. They don't make any sense. The story, the lore behind the game just becomes more and more convoluted and unrelatable. But they fundamentally altered what we as a community grew up with. And it's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. And Blizzard has nobody to blame but themselves for hiring these fucking retards. These people who think that they know what they're doing when it comes to writing, when it comes to character design, when it comes to literally anything. They don't know what they're doing. But they were hired because they're a woman or because they're black or because they're anything but a good developer. I remember when I don't want to watch any more cinematics because I'm just going to get more upset. But the Honor and Glory cinematic, when they brought that out, that was amazing. It was such an amazing cinematic because we got to see Reinhardt at his most vulnerable as a character, and we got to relate with him as being a young, brash individual, thinking he's on top of the world and he can do anything he wants. We all feel that way when we're in our 20s, hell, even in our teens. We all felt that way at some point in our lives where we could do anything. And so we tried to show the world that we could do anything by doing something so fucking stupid. But we learn from those mistakes and we grow and we become more wise because of those mistakes. And that's what we got to see with the Honor and Glory animated short. We got to see that with Reinhardt, where he just felt as though his mistakes led him to this point of wisdom in his life, where he could make sure that the people that he took under his wing did not make those same mistakes. Perfect reflection of life. We have the Dragons animated short where Hanzo and Genji are going at it. Brothers, siblings on either side of the war. They don't agree with each other at all because one has strayed so far away from the family that his honor is in question, and the other one who lives that honor every day but isn't sure that he can bring himself to kill his own brother. I have a personal connection with that particular cinematic because I've had to deal with essentially losing my brother. Not literally. He's still alive. Don't worry, he's still alive. But he lost his way. And I'm at odds with him. Just like Genji and Hanzo. So, The next time that you think that games are just silly and that games are just toys, think about which games you're talking about, because that matters. It matters which games you're talking about because different games hit differently. And Overwatch for me was a light in my life that I can never get back.